algebraic expression. Consists of one or more variables and numbers along with one or more arithmetic operations. In algebra, variables, this is a word that you'll just need to get comfortable with. Variables are symbols used to represent unspecified numbers or values. Any letter may be used as a variable, okay? So we're going to look at, this is what we talked about the day before, but we're going to look at it again. So remember, you're going to have numbers, variables, and operations, all right? So 4 times the sum of a number and 10. Now you know that the word times is multiplication, and sum means to add. Now, when it says, especially when you have something in front of the word sum, when it says of, I'm going to give you a hint, put parentheses around. It will say blank and blank. Okay, the sum of blank and blank. Where that and is, that is where you put the sum. Sum is addition, so that's where I'm going to put that plus sign. So if it says the difference of, then above the and, I'd put a minus. Or if it said the product of, above the and, I'd put a times. So the and tells you where the operation goes. Since it just says a number, I'm going to use a variable, and then I have a number here behind it. So I'm actually going to use a 10, and I'm just going to use the n to represent a number. I don't know what number it is, so I'm just going to use that variable n. Right? So you have parentheses n plus 10. That is the sum of a number and 10, n plus 10. So the 4 times just goes in the front, and that's it. The difference of a number squared and 8. All right, and you can do the same thing here. Difference is minus, but you have that of. You can put parentheses blank and blank. All right, see where that and is? That's where the difference sign, that's where the minus goes, over the and. Now it says a number squared. I don't know what a number is, so I'm going to use n. Squared, that's when you have the little bitty exponent. Okay, and then you have minus 8. So I'm going to actually use the 8. So n squared minus 8. Now I can put parentheses around that. Is there anything in front of the word difference? See, over here I had the 4 times in the front. Do I have anything in front of the difference? Nope. So I don't have anything in front. So if you want to remove the parentheses, you can. So you can either say n squared minus 8. If you're not sure, you can always put the parentheses on there, and that is all right. They're not necessary because there's nothing in front. Okay? So n squared minus 8. Let's go to the next one. So we have less than. Now remember, on the word than, we talked about that. That's one of those words that you switch on. Very, 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 very important. So less than is minus. I'm going to go ahead and put a minus sign, but the 8 has to go at the back. Remember that than tells me to switch it. Okay, so the 8 has to go at the back. Now what do I have behind the word than? Behind the word than, it says product. The product of. Now remember, we had that of sign, so I can say something and something, okay? That goes together with the parentheses is. And where that and is, product means multiply. So I have a number times 3. Well, in algebra, you would write that instead of n times 3, you would actually write it 3n, okay? In algebra, you always put the number in the front, which is the coefficient. So 3n goes in the front. And remember, we had to change the order so it doesn't go behind the 8, it goes in front. So you have 3 times n minus 8. Now, some of you may want to put the parentheses right there around the 3n. That is okay, but it's not necessary. So if you want to put the parentheses around the 3n, that is fine, but you don't need parentheses around the 3n. It's understood, all right? When there's a plus and there's a number in front, when it says 4 times the sum or 4 times the difference, the parentheses is mandatory. But this is 8 less than, so the 8 is by itself in the back, so I don't need the parentheses around 3n. Let's try the next one. 3 less than, so again I have a minus sign, and since it's the than, I have to switch the order. So the 3 does not go in the front, it goes in the back. And then I have the cube of a number. Well, remember up here the squared was a little exponent 2. Cube is when you have a little exponent 3. So I don't know what a number is, I'm going to use n. So n to the third, and that goes in the front, because remember I had to switch the order, because then told me I had to switch. Alright, so n cubed minus 3. On the next one we have a half. Now, 1/2, you're just going to write it like it sounds. 1/2, that's a half. 1/2. The square of b. When you see of, that is like times. Okay, so like if I said, I could say the product, but, or I could say a half times, but sometimes we'll just say of. And of means you're going to multiply. So 1/2 times, and it says the square of b. Well, that is the same thing as saying b to the second power, or b squared. Now, you don't have to have that dot, so you could just say 1/2 b squared. Right? That's how you're going to see it. 1/2 b squared. Just like you're going to see n squared minus 8, n cubed minus 3, 3n minus 8, and this is 4. Going to finalize the final, I'm going to box the final answer. I don't have to have that dot in between. A number next to a variable, it represents multiplication. Okay? And then the next one, we have twice, and then I have the word difference of. Now, if I see there's a number in the front of difference, so I'm going to put parentheses around that of. Okay? See the word and? That and refers to what difference is. Difference means minus, right? So, I'm going to have parentheses. Difference, I do not change the order. So I bring down the 15, and I bring down, if it doesn't say what the variable is, I'm just going to use n, because it says number, and then that and is your minus. Now, what do I have in front? I have the word twice. Remember, twice means to multiply by 2, but it's a big 2. It's not the exponent. The exponent is when you have the word squared, or to the second power. But twice is a big 2. That means you have it 2 times. So that's like saying 2 times. Twice means you have it 2 times. So 2 times the difference. Okay? This is your answer. Now, there are 2 of them that I want you to try, so pause the video and try those. And then when you get done, you can start it again for the next step. Now we're going to do the opposite. We're given an expression and we want to write it out in words. So I have a number next to n. Anytime it's next to n, that is like having a dot. That's like having 6 dot into the second. All right, so I have 2 operations. I have a dot, which means to multiply. That's what I'm going to say first. Now, I'm going to use the word product. The product of 6 and n. That means I multiplied. I could have said 6 times n. That's okay. And then the other thing that I have is I have a little exponent too. That is called squared. Okay, I can also say the square of n. So 6 times the square of n, or I could say the product of 6 and n squared. Okay, so there's more than one way to write that. All right, on the next one, I have a little exponent of 3. Now, remember when you have an exponent of 3, that is called cube. So now I could say n cubed, or I can say the cube, I don't need to put a d on it, I can say the cube of n, all right? So I could say n cubed, or I can say the cube of n. Next, I have this minus sign. So you could, there's lots of different words you can use there, but I'm going to say minus. You could say subtract, or you could say less. And I do not need this word and. I apologize, you can mark that off. So the cube of n minus 12. And what does it mean if it's right next to a variable? If it's right next to a variable, it means that you can that's multiplication. That's the same thing as 12 times n. Okay, y'all need to know a number next to a variable means times. So 12 times n. And there's other ways you could say that. You could say the product of 12 and n. Okay, so we're going to do 3 more together. The very first thing I have on this C is 1/3. Anytime you have a fraction, you put the numerator, hyphen, and then the bottom, instead of writing 3, you say third. So 1/3. And since it's next to it, remember if it's next to it, that is times. So 1/3 times, or I could say the product of 1/3 and. So times, and then you've got a. And then what does that little exponent mean? The little exponent 3 means that it's cubed. So I'm going to say a cubed. Now I could say the product of 1/3 and a, and the cube of a. I could say that, which is fine. Or I could say 1/3 times a cubed. All right? On the next one, you got lots going on up here. First thing, we've got this bar. That bar means division. Okay? So you can use the word division, or you can use the word quotient, either one. I'm going to say division. So I'm going to say this first. Okay? The product of 6 and k, and remember when you have an exponent too, it's called squared. Okay, so I'm going to do that first. The product of 6 and k squared. And then that bar means divide. So divided by 5. And then what does this mean? I can just say plus 7, or I can say increased by 7. Lots of different ways you could say that. All right, and then the very last one, remember you've got parentheses, okay? And if I have a number next to parentheses, the very first thing is that is 4. Now I can write out the word 4. 4 times. And up there I didn't write out because I was running out of space. I wanted to make sure and write it big. But usually when it's written out, they do like it written out the numbers as well. So 4 times, and since there are parentheses, then you've got to say this whatever of. This is a plus sign in the middle. So since it says plus, I'm going to say the sum of. Okay? Now what do you have inside? I have n squared, because it's a little exponent too. And, okay, remember since it was sum, I got to say and then you say 1. Now you try the other ones, and that is how you write verbal expressions. Just take it a step at a time, look for all the operations, and use your word bank to help you out.